creating the technical content for our team to be able to say it is the same antigens, it is the same adjuvant as our trusted flagship products. Here's the data. I can show you it is the same. Like gaining their confidence, having that information is extremely important because they want to see it.
And welcome to another Wisenetics podcast episode. I'm very happy to have here with me today, Dory Carl. Dory is a marketing specialist at MSD Animal Health. Welcome, Dory.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you. Today, for you that is listening to us, we're going to be covering some subjects about marketing, and Dory is going to share a little bit about her story and experiences with us. And to start, Dory, could you please tell us a little bit more about yourself so our audience can get to know you?
I would love to. I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania on my family's show pig operation. We farrowed roughly 100 head per year. And through our family business, I had the opportunity to network with industry professionals and explore career opportunities that lied within the swine industry. I followed those opportunities and where the pigs were and went to school at Iowa State University. I graduated from ISU in December of 21 with my master's in business administration, as well as a bachelor's of science in animal science. Immediately after graduation, I started working in marketing within the animal pharmaceutical space for Phibro Animal Health as their marketing coordinator. And now for the last 2.5 years, I've been working for MSD Animal Health as their swine marketing specialist, overseeing our traditional biopharma product portfolio, as well as our custom vaccine portfolio called Sequivity.
Dory, we had the opportunity to meet a few times throughout the past few years, even in the Pork Expo and other situations when you were working in Phibro as well. And you shared some very cool stuff about your story and experiences. So what would you highlight as your top 3 experiences in life, and what did you learn from them?
Looking back on my career so far, there's really 3 main achievements that come to mind. The first one being running my own business. I mentioned in my introduction that we had a family business called JLark Genetics, and that business was created in 2012 with my brother. We went to my dad asking, would you be willing to support us in creating our own business? And he was all on board. So we started that business when I was 12 years old, and we actually just closed the doors on that business this past year. So very bittersweet year for us. But through owning a business, really got to gain insight on what producers go through, from making decisions all the way from genetic lines to what vaccines they use. And so this past year, it was really interesting, as a marketer for MSD Animal Health, you see all your products go out the door, but you never really realize maybe sometimes the impact it has. And I went back home this past year to vaccinate, and it was really interesting to see the products that I market in our own family, refrigerators, getting to go vaccinate with them. And so such a full circle of owning a business and, making decisions on what vaccines we're going to use, to then being able to see the vaccines I market being used on our own personal family farm. The second achievement that stands out to me is graduating from Iowa State University. Iowa State University has a really unique program for students in the animal science department. They can do a concurrent MBA. And so my senior year, I decided to do grad school in the midst of COVID. So if you can only imagine doing grad school in COVID times of, trying to figure out, whether you're in person or online, but very thankful to have that opportunity to get my master's degree from Iowa State, because the classes that I was involved in from my master's program have really helped me out with my day-to-day job here at MSD Animal Health, and, talking with higher up executives and understanding the different thought processes they are going through to run the business. And the last achievement is launching 3 products in 2.5 years. MSD Animal Health is rooted in innovation. And over the last 2.5 years, I have had the opportunity to launch 3 products into the swine swine space. And like I mentioned earlier, seeing our products being used is such an amazing experience, especially if it's you have a personal connection to it. And so to be able to see some of those products being used and hear the feedback of, it's making a difference for us in the field is such a heartfelt, opportunity for me, because I get to know that, the products I'm putting out for individuals to use are making a difference.
It's interesting to see how rooted you are with the not exactly not just agriculture, but specifically in the swine industry. And as you said, like even your earlier experiences running your own business with your brother, and if I'm not wrong, you were 12 at the time, right?
Yeah,
When you
I was
started the
12.
business. So you mentioned like the full cycle, having the opportunity of being in the shoes of the producers, and yeah, how each step brings you more experiences, and that will contribute to where you are now. And well, today you are in marketing. How do you think your parents would describe what you do?
You would think that my parents would know what I do just based on like them having experience of the products that I market. But when you hear my parents talk to our family friends about what I do, the best answer that they come up with is I work very hard to make sure that vaccines are available for producers to purchase. My parents don't necessarily know what I do on a day-to-day job of, working with demand forecasters and making sure, product is in the channel, and, working with R&D to make sure that new products are coming. They don't necessarily know that stuff. They just kind of give a high level of, she makes sure that, products are available for swine producers, but they don't know the whole backstory behind what I do.
No problem. We were going to share the episode with them, and then today they're going to be on top of your responsibilities and challenges.
Hopefully.
Let's start talking about marketing, about your experiences in the industry. Now, you didn't always want it to be in marketing, right? How did you get to marketing? Let's start with that, and then we can dive into the other questions.
I did not always want to be in marketing. I stumbled into marketing through an internship. So at Iowa State University, they try to get their students to go and do internships all throughout their collegiate career, starting as a freshman all the way up to your junior year. And so I did multiple internships within the swine industry leading up to my junior year, trying to figure out where I wanted to take my career. Essentially, you try these internships. What do you like? What do you not like? And my junior year, I decided that I would like to do sales, and that's ultimately where I wanted to go. And I had applied for an internship for sales, and during that internship, they said to me, "We currently do already have the individuals picked out for who this internship will be, but we do have a position in marketing. Would you be interested in applying for that?" And at the time, I said yes, not really knowing what that entailed. And I'm very thankful to have taken that leap and saying yes, because I found out that marketing is something that I loved. I didn't know that the type of marketing that I'm doing today existed. I had the condescending connotation that marketing is just creating documents and creating advertisements. I didn't know that marketing that I'm doing today, whether, the marketing that I'm doing is more based on product pricing and product portfolios and, launching new products. I didn't know that type of marketing existed necessarily. And through that internship, I was exposed to it and I found this love and passion. And ever since that internship, I've stayed in this type of marketing because you get to be a part of so many different things and be so heavily rooted still back into that customer, knowing that you're making a difference because you're helping, provide product to them.
Awesome. You mentioned the other day that this actually is some sort of reflex of something your parents taught you about, like opportunities and how to face opportunities, right?
Yeah, my parents always told me and have taught me over the years, never close a door on something because, you can say no to something, but you might actually like it. And in the back of my mind during that interview, it was kind of replaying in my head. My dad just said, "Don't close the door. Don't close the door." And ultimately I didn't close the door on something, and very thankful that he was kind of whispering in the back of my head, take the opportunity, see what this is like. You may like it. You might not.
I love this because it's a little bit on how I see things. I mean, I think it's very important for you, to have a plan, know where you're going, things you want to achieve in life. But first, I think those things, they most of times they come with maturity.
Hmm.
The more experiences you have, more clarity you'll have of what you like, what you don't, and future plans and those sort of things. But although plans are important, I am the type of person who also is very, let's say, I don't know if that's the most appropriate word, but like reflexive to the scenarios where I am, right? So
Hmm.
I like to be flexible and understand, okay, maybe the opportunity that appeared here, it's something very interesting. I was not planning to do something like that, but looks promising. Why not? Let's go. Let's go with it. Let's try. Let's learn with it. And with well, those some of the best experiences in my life were due to because of this sort of perspective.
Yeah, it's always surprising what comes out of those scenarios.
Yeah, unexpected opportunities, and yeah, I love to see things like that. And Dory, now thinking about marketing, this new area that you got the opportunity to get involved and learn that you really like it. Um, what are what would you highlight and share as your essential marketing tools or tactics that you have in your toolbox? What's essential for you on a daily basis when you're working with marketing?
Yeah, I have a lot of tools and tactics that I use in my toolbox, and it really depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. So, I find it personally best to understand number one what my consumer is going through on their end before I can use anything in my toolbox. So, for example, when we look at the swine industry, what are swine producers facing right now from a macro environment? Are they making money? Are they losing money? What are their um, main causes that cause them trouble? Is it labor shortages? Is it getting people on the farm? Whatever it might be, I try to understand and see their perspective of the things that they're going through, and then from there I can kind of create messaging and then utilize the tactics that I have. So if you want to look at CML, for example, when we launched that product, I played towards key messaging of how it helps the end consumer. So, fewer injections with that vaccine. There's fewer bottles to manage. There's more comfort with it, more convenience, but also the same confidence. And so, when I went to go then market this to the end consumer, looking in my toolbox, what do I have to use? I have my sales team and my tech service team, and I'm going to rely on them very heavily because they're the ones that are working with our producers and veterinarians to make that decision of whether or not they're going to implement it on their farms. So heavily relied on them to be able to convey these messages, talk through them, understand, what the end consumer's hesitation might be to use them. But then I also had our traditional tactics of press releases, media outlets, advertisement, ad placements, those sorts of things. But really, the key driver in my toolbox that helps drive our marketing at MSD is our people. They really make the key difference in our products and just consumer acceptance and trust.
Yes, I recall the launch of CML when at the Park Expo and the materials and everything. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
You did a good job. It's in my mind still. So and here we're talking about marketing tactics. We're talking about launch products to industries where some of the decision makers or the influencers, they have this very technical background, right? So we are talking with people that have their studies in animal science, they're scientists, and so on. What I want to ask you is, first, do you think creating like a thought leadership and creating like technical content, technical type of communication, do you think this is important?
In my line of work, producing and sharing technical content is extremely important for the producers and the veterinarians. The veterinarians want to see the data behind the vaccine before they even make a decision on whether or not to implement it implement it in their flows. So, for example, for CML, because it's a new product, they wanted to have the confidence that this new product is going to cover the diseases that we are saying it should cover. So, CML, it covers the three major causes of disease in swine. And we have our traditional flagship products, Circumvent MG2, as well as Porcellus ileitis. So creating the technical content for our team to be able to say it is the same antigens, it is the same adjuvant as our trusted flagship products. Here's the data. I can show you it is the same. Like gaining their confidence, having that information is extremely important because they want to see it. But not only do they want to see it, they also want to see the results. So we did projects with 12 customers leading up to the launch of CML to start gaining that confidence so that they could see it in their hands of how it works in a real life scenario. You can create data sometimes in, controlled environments, and it shows you the results you want to see, but also seeing it in a challenged environment. Producers and veterinarians want to see what it looks like. And so we did projects with them to see, this is what it looks like when it's in the real world. It's in, the environments of different disease threats. And so having that content available for them to see is extremely important because one, it's our responsibility to show that and to be very transparent with the end consumer if they're going to implement our products into their systems or flows of pigs.
So thought leadership, technical content, important for these industries. And MSD Animal Health is a very famous brand and is strong in the industry. But so maybe my question was, how do you build brand authority and thought leadership in the marketplace? But I think in this scenario is how do you maintain thought leadership in the industry?
MSD Animal Health is able to provide thought leadership and brand authority through, I think, 3 different pillars. And the 3 pillars that I'm thinking about are investment into the industry, innovation, as well as just industry commitment. And when we think about investment, MSD has continued to make significant strides in investments in the livestock space, especially in the swine industry. If we think about what I've briefly mentioned before, we've innovated and put out 3 new products for the industry. We're showing our support in, furthering the vaccine space by, launching multiple products and, continuing our investment in research and making sure that, we hear what our customers are going through, what their struggles are, and trying to create vaccines to help alleviate those. But then back on industry commitment, we're committed to helping the industry as much as we can. Whether that be through different sponsorships at big conferences, World Pork Expo, AASV, we have sponsorships there, but we also give back to up and coming individuals in the veterinarian space. We give big sponsorships and scholarships to those up and coming because we know that giving back to the industry is important because it shows that we're caring and we want to, help further the industry to make sure that, we're providing adequate support to producers and veterinarians.
That's awesome. And essential. You need to not only give back, but it's some sort of as giving like the commitment to the industry is an investment as well, right? You're investing it and, you need to plant in order to harvest. So that's a great perspective. And Dori, now looking at your career so far, what would you highlight as the most important lessons you've learned so far?
I've learned a lot of lessons since I've started my career, but I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, specifically with my current bosses, is to ask questions. If you're not asking questions, you're not learning necessarily. So ask the questions, further your development, push back on, what's status quo is. And really from there, you're able to learn a lot more. I ask my bosses, I kind of challenge them all the time of, why are you thinking that way? Like, what's your thought process different than mine? And, just gaining their insight and their knowledge and, understanding what they're thinking about long term. Sometimes I'm only thinking short term. So just asking the questions and, furthering my development has been key. But also, one thing that I've learned is to speak up and tell people about where I want to go. I have two amazing bosses that have helped develop my career, and long term, talking to them about where I want to go has only helped me. They put me in scenarios and situations to help me grow, put me in front of, our higher executives so that they're able to see, this individual that's up and coming, and just making sure that my career path is being furthered along, and I can't ask for a better opportunity here at MSD than to be able to be given those opportunities to speak in front of higher execs and you know kind of get my name out there.
Okay. You've worked with marketing in a very big company, so you probably have a lot of responsibilities and things to take care of on your daily basis.
Yes.
What would you say are your favorite productivity hacks?
Great question. So here at MSD Animal Health in the Lenexa office, we are in an open concept. So there's multiple people around me all the time talking on calls. Best thing I have for productivity is one, get noise canceling headphones. The amount of times I have my headphones in so I can block out everybody is key just for me to be able to focus. But the second thing is block out time on your calendar. There are days that I have meetings from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm on nonstop calls. And if you've ever been on calls like that, you don't get anything done in your inbox and your to-do list just grows. And so from a productivity, blocking out time throughout your week to just get things done, whether it's 30-minute blocks, an hour block, I have found that helps me immensely to be able to check things off my to-do list and to be able to meet the deadlines that I'm being asked of.
Perfect. Yeah, people with busy calendars. This is essential. That's definitely something essential. That's something I do as well. You nailed it. Like lots of meetings, you cannot do anything. Your to-do list just grows because during those meetings you're going to be, asked to accomplish new things and do new tasks. And if you don't have that separate and dedicated time to do those activities, you're probably going to get busy and
Yeah.
get late, lose your due dates and those sort of things, deadlines. Dori, now we're coming to the end of the conversation, so I want to bring one thing that we also discussed in another day, which is one experience you had, which makes us personal experiences with professional. You had a very nice experience traveling across Asia, uh, getting to know the swine industry in those places and the differences, the links to the swine industry in the United States. Can you share a little bit better how was that experience?
Yeah, just to give some background to those listening, Ricardo and I had a conversation about traveling. And when I was in school at Iowa State University, Iowa State has an amazing program for study abroad. You can do short courses or you can do long courses, like semester long travel trips. But I participated in multiple travel courses throughout my time there. And one of my travel courses was studying pork production in Japan and Thailand, specifically understanding the differences between U.S. production as well, U.S. production and production overseas and how they differ. And through that trip, we started in Thailand, got to see, different production there. But in Japan, we had multiple different opportunities to one, tour a plant and how they, all the way from harvest, how it goes through their plants to see it, end product out on the customer shelf. We were also able to go through exports. And I think it's really interesting. Sometimes when we're in marketing or, in agriculture here in the US, we're sometimes laser focused on what the US can do. And what we're able to produce. But sometimes I think we don't think outside the box of, well, where does the product go? How does this affect exports? What do exports look like? And at the time, I really didn't think about agriculture outside of the US. And so going to Japan, we were walking through one of the big export lockers. And I remember vividly walking through, and we were going through the pork section. And all of a sudden, I see Smithfield, I see Tyson, I see different branding of like made in the USA. And for me, that was really eye opening to see US agriculture outside of the US. And um, I think that's something that we lose sight of sometimes, of what that looks like. And for me, that was such a humbling experience, because it really opened my eyes up to how agriculture, how big agriculture is, and all the different revenues that we don't necessarily think about on our day-to-day job. So very, very unique opportunity for me to go through. I'm very thankful for that trip, just to kind of open my eyes to see what agriculture looks like outside of the US.
I got, it's not exactly a similar experience, but yeah, some sort of level it is. I got involved in agriculture 3 to 4 years ago, so it's something quite new for me. And through my travelings around Brazil and to the countryside, to the center region of Brazil to visit my father and mother-in-law. After, like, I went in some of those trips, and I was just on the road enjoying my time, and that was that. After I got into the industry, I started noticing all those brands that I was calling those companies, trying to connect with the representatives from those companies to see potential partnerships with our podcast. And I started seeing, okay, this company is from Europe. They're very strong, I don't know, in amino acids, this one, and in enzymes, and these and that, and how all those international companies were also present here in Brazil. And I always, although I didn't have, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, as a Brazilian, there's some sort of connection with natural connection with agriculture, because we're a country that exports a lot to the world. We help feeding the world, just like the USA does, right? So I had this perspective, but I was not. I didn't have the view, the perspective of seeing how connected our internal production was with other companies, with other countries, and suppliers around the world. So it was something very interesting to see, and the presence of those suppliers, those companies here in Brazil as well.
Yeah, I think also not even just like the companies, but the individuals that work for some of those. Um, I remember when we went to Japan, one of our professors went to school with one of the other individuals in I believe he was a genetics company. But really just seeing the connections on the human side too. You don't realize how connected people are, whether, they're overseas and they do school in the States, or vice versa. They worked on a research project together. It's so interesting to see how everybody's connected somehow to agriculture. I mean, we met through a previous company, but, still continue to keep ties. And I think it's really interesting to see how different people weave in and out of agriculture, and how everybody's somehow connected in some sort of way.
Yeah, and connected to the rest of the world, because it's about feeding the world, and at the end of the day, everyone needs to eat, right? Uh,
Yes.
Dari, for us to wrap up here, my last question is: if you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about?
Well, if I'm writing a book tomorrow, do I get the day off? But no, if I had to write a book tomorrow, I think I would write it on my experiences. And the reason why I pick experiences is I have lived away from my family for the last, I don't know, 7 years. And I only really get to talk to them about the things that I'm experiencing over the phone. And when I go on different trips, whether it be to Japan and Thailand, or, Germany, or different work trips, I don't necessarily get to show, or kind of show pictures, or really talk through my experiences if I'm not at home. My family doesn't get to see those necessarily until I go home, for whether it be Christmas or just visiting. And my grandma has always said, you have such amazing experiences that nobody knows about, you should really write them down. And I have kept a little notebook over the years of, what I've experienced, but I I would love to, write about all my different internships, the things I've experienced, the things I've gotten to see, because they are so unique to me. But there's also some funny stories in there that have happened along the way that nobody knows about. But if you were to hear them, they'd make you laugh.
That's good. I'm curious. Send me a copy if you do. If you
Sadly,
end up writing
sign
that.
it.
Yes, please sign it. Dory, last question is, where can our audience find you online?
If you are listening and would like to connect, I am on LinkedIn. My name is Dory Kroll, and I would love to connect and chat with you.
Awesome. Dory, thank you so much for your time. For you that is there listening to us in our conversation, thank you for your company, and I hope to see you all in our next episode.